Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Gran Turismo 7 update 1.32. So with this update we got a brand new GT3 car, that being the EVO version of a car we already have in the game, the AMG GT3. So I thought I'd do a bit of a head-to-head review by reviewing the 16 model and the EVO 2020 model to see which of them is the king of the AMG GT3 lineup. So we're going to look at the 2016 model first, then we'll head over to the 2020 model to see which of them is the fastest over a single lap. So this here is the AMG GT3 2016 model, the one that we all know and love. It's been in the game for the longest time, since day one, and was in GT Sport previously, so it is a popular choice among Group 3 racers, mainly because it's a very stable and rather quite quick car. Whilst I don't think it's really ever been the meta in terms of GT7, it's a usable car, it's easy to access. However, I would say it's a bit weighty in terms of its feeling, but overall it's a good car. If you want to buy this one, you can buy it for 450,000 credits from the AMG dealership, coming in at 730.51 pp, 614 brake horsepower, and weighing 1,325 kilograms. So now let's go and compare the EVO model to the original. So this one comes in at 736.18 pp, so around about 6 more, 614 brake horsepower yet again. However, this one weighs only 1,285 kilograms, both naturally aspirated, and it will cost you around about 30,000 credits more. And in all honesty, that's really not a bad price, and in my opinion, it's just better looking in general. So let's review the 2016 one as we take it on our usual hot lap around the Nordschleife. Now, if you've never joined me for a car review, this is how it works. Because these are race cars, they will not be entering our modified lap time. They will only go on the Nordschleife for our standard lap time. So what we do is we get the car straight out of the box, hit it up on a hot lap around the Nordschleife, and I will review it and talk about it before we see where it ranks on a hot lap leaderboard. So the 2016 AMG GT3 is a car I've used a ton in this game, and like I mentioned previously, it's a very usable car. I think pretty much anybody can jump in this thing and feel right at home and very comfortable driving it. It's a very stable car, it's great in the wet and it's great in the dry, it sounds brilliant, and it's because it's naturally aspirated, it suffers from zero turbo lag. It's just all brute force power. Now, the only downside to this car is the fact that it feels rather quite weighty. Now, what I mean by that is, although it's, rather fast and such, it's just not the most reactive. I feel like the main place this car struggles is actually pack racing. So if you are side by side with, let's say, something like the Toyota Supra and such, the Supra will easily outmaneuver the car in terms of the way it feels. It feels big, it feels wide, and it feels rather quite heavy. However, it is very, very quick and stable to make up for this. In all honesty, I would say this car really doesn't have a downside. It looks good, it feels good, and overall it's just a fantastic typical GT3 machine. And obviously it's a very popular choice in terms of real world teams. Now, obviously this is an outdated model at this point. Obviously the EVO kind of took over from it. There is a few slight changes. One thing you will notice that most of these changes happen at the front, so the lights look a lot different. The grille especially looks a lot different. As you can see, it's kind of, got the bottom part of the bumper at the front under the grille, whereas the EVO just kind of seems all built in one. So overall, in terms of its look and design, I would have to say that I just don't prefer this original design. I definitely prefer the EVO's looks. I definitely prefer kind of the changes that they put in place to kind of evolve this car. So yes, it is a fantastic machine overall. However, in terms of its looks and such, it's definitely a point to the EVO for that. However, this is a car that a lot of us have used for many, many years at this point, in all honesty. So yeah, it kind of does have the advantage of being a kind of tried and tested car, whereas the EVO, well, not so much. It's been in the game a single day. So, this car really isn't as popular as it I guess it should be, to be quite honest, in terms of being used in kind of daily races and such. Obviously, a lot of people will just jump straight to the meta, and at least if my recent memory serves me correct, this car has never really been a meta car. Whilst it's always been up there and always been very reliable and such, it's never kind of been the go-to over something like the BRZ, the Super and such, over the kind of, I guess, last year of GT7 being around. But it still was a more popular choice, I guess, in the early days, just for the stability and ease of driving this car. So it definitely is a plus point to this car, that it is very, very easy to drive and access. So if you want a car that feels fantastic straight away, I guess, and something that you're going to be able to easily adjust, especially if you're more of a beginner player, then in all honesty, I'd say it's got to be a point to the 2016 model for reasons I'll explain later. So overall, does the 2016 model still hold up? Yes, it's a fantastic machine, and I fully recommend you driving it and at least giving it a try out. In all honesty, I think you will find this overall a very easy car to use. I don't think you'll really see a massive downside to it, apart from possibly the weight of the thing. So let's go ahead and see where it ranked on our hot lap leaderboard. As you can see, this comes in just below the 2013 Nissan GTR, below the GT1 DBR9, and below the 2018 GTR, which is currently our fastest Group 3 car that we've actually tested so far, coming in with a time of 6 minutes 43.681. So again, you can see we've got a bit of a gap there. So it's a 6:37 for the 2018 GTR, which is the most recent addition, apart from the Evo in the game. So yeah, it does seem like at this point it is getting a little bit more outdated. So let's move on next to the Evo version. This is the 2020 model. As you can see, I've put a British GT livery on it from the 2023 season, the 2Cs Motorsport livery, and overall this is a fantastic machine from the get-go. Now there is a few slight changes to the way this car feels. It definitely feels a lot more different to its 2016 counterpart in the way it is, I guess, drivable. So this car is much more on edge, at least without BOP applied and such. It feels a lot more skittish. The rear end will dance out a lot easier. It's a lot easier to kind of get it over that limit. However, it's very easy to catch and bring it back in. So in all honesty, although this car is, I guess, a bit more on edge, it isn't to the point where it's absolutely uncontrollable. It still feels like a GT3 car. It feels more reactive while still combining that ridiculous power and definitely, you know, the overall speed of this of the original 2016 model. So in all honesty, this is an improvement in every single way. It kind of addresses the issue. What I felt was kind of a downside of the 2016 was the fact that it felt just a little bit too weighty, and whilst it was a lot more stable than the Evo, in all honesty, I prefer a more reactive car that I can kind of throw through the corners, whether that means kind of, you know, pushing it past that edge and getting the rear end out and such. But as long as I'm able to catch it, I would much more rather drive that way, especially if I'm pack racing and I kind of want to, you know, dip in and out of slipstreams, or, you know, kind of keep myself on my line and such. So the main question to note here is, does the Evo set out to achieve what it realistically should be doing, evolving an already established car? And in all honesty, yes, it feels a much better. This is something that I noticed as well with the 2018 model of the GTR when we got that post-launch, that it just kind of took every little concern I had with the original model and certainly improved it. And I feel like Gran Turismo 7 does a good way, I guess, has a good way of kind of featuring that. You know, it does make it feel like it kind of will take the original problems that you had or the downsides of that vehicle and then kind of improve them in every sense. And that is certainly something I got from the Evo model. Overall though, as well, to kind of touch on the looks quickly, yes, this is definitely the better looking model in my opinion. And whilst, you know, maybe some people won't like the fact that the grille is now absolutely humongous on this car, I feel like it definitely more suits the car than the kind of cut-off grille we have for the 2016 model. Another little slight change as well is with the front lights. In all honesty, I just think they suit the car more now as well. So overall, in my opinion, this is a fantastic machine. It really does set out what it was meant to do, which is evolve the car. and in all honesty, I am all for it. If, you know, Gran Turismo and Polyphony are going to update this, I guess, Group 3 roster, which is rather quite dated at this point, then I'm happy to see these cars enter the game. You know, if we look at kind of Ferrari in the game, they have a 2013 model, which makes it nearly a decade old at this point, so it's definitely in need of a refresh in terms of those Group 3 cars, especially considering how popular they are, with Polyphony putting them in pretty much every week in a daily race in some way or form. So would I recommend you purchasing this over the original? Now, it's down to personal preference. So if you want a more stable car that you know isn't going to kind of just, you know, snap from you, then go with the 16. That is still the way to go for stability and just ease of driving. However, if you are more confident in your ability, in all honesty, I'd recommend just skipping the 16 and going for the EVO. It's more snappy, it's more reactive, and it certainly feels much more better through the corners. The weight just feels like it's kind of been lifted from this car. And, you know, although, you know, if you look at the numbers and such, it's only a slight difference in terms of its kilograms and such, it really does kind of make a big difference to the overall feeling of this car. So let's have a look where it ranks on our lap time leaderboard, and as you can see, this has taken over the reins as the fastest GT3 car we have tested so far, coming in with a 6 minutes 36.590, almost a second quicker than the 2018 GTR GT3, and much quicker, almost 7 seconds, than the 2016 counterpart. So overall, this is a fantastic machine. I fully recommend you just paying that bit extra for that performance. So there we have it. I thought I'd do a bit of a 2-for-1 and a bit of a head-to-head comparison between, I guess, two machines, that being the 16 AMG GT3 and the 2020 EVO model, and it certainly didn't disappoint. This is literally an evolution of one of my favourite GT3 cars in the game, but it takes every issue I had with it and completely revamps it into its own thing, and it feels fantastic. So that's going to be it for the first car review of update 1.32. Next up, I'll be touching on the Super Formula cars, and then we will review the XJ220. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, comment and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video. I make GT7 and motorsport content each and every day for your viewing pleasure. Discord, Twitter, donation link, that will all be in the description down below. Have a fantastic day, guys. Peace.